Now, where did I leave off before our break? We had a bunch of raids, a lot of chat activity, some fun, some laughter, and a lot of good conversation, as well as super secret techniques to make your DM furious, such as not being ready on your turn. But as we continue this story building workshop, you might go, well, all we're doing is looking at the character sheets. How is this going to help me build a story? Yes, I realize in the rule book that there are plenty of rules. That there are plenty of tables and charts and random events and complications, just like you'd find in the Dungeon Master's Guide to build a dungeon. Just like you'd find in a lot of third-party supplemental books to help you create NPCs or quests or all sorts of things. You know, Kobold Press is pretty good at that sort of stuff. So that's here. Though, what is that going to do for your party? For your friends and family sitting down at your table wanting to play your game that you are running for them? In the first part of this workshop, we did a very simple, more of a mechanical examination, where we simply took the attributes and we laid them out, and we took the skills and laid those out, and we made a bar graph in order for us to help consider our SWOT. We talked about elements of a SWOT report: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. All of these are going to help you visually or mathematically consider circumstances where your party will shine or sweat. They're going to shine or sweat. But what about story beats? What about role playing? Things that, yes, you know, there are social skills, but these would be more along the ROLE side of playing instead of the ROLL, which is what our first sheet was conveying to us. You know, we have the yin, we need the yang. We need one or the other here. And that's not something that the book can tell you, because this is your table. Virtual or otherwise, but this is your table and your story. Or even if you're running another person's story, this is your version of it with the characters you have on hand. So just as we did before for the ROLL play portion, let's go back to our character sheet. Remember, an Alien RPG, it's a simple one-pager. Nice and easy. This game is not complex, but you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. I like its elegance. And by the way, if any of you, again, you came in on a raid, if you're like, Alien RPG, I didn't know that existed, or what do the numbers mean, or how do things work? You are welcome to ask. I never want these workshops to feel like a lecture where you're not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to ask questions. Unfortunately, I can't give you a certificate or, you know, a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree in in the various disciplines required to be a storyteller. I wish I could, man. That would be I'd be a cool professor, I think. Yes, you may pick up your pencil, Awkward Mancer. So let's go back to our one page character sheets. And just make some notes about the character. Not about the math. Not about how this character will form dice pools and roll them, push them, or manipulate them through the mechanics of a talent. The first one we created Let's go to it. Make some notes. Quick, just jot it down. Blank piece of paper. So we know that we have a roughneck. And the way that we develop the concept, this feels more like a leader, a foreman among roughnecks, more of a leader of a group of workers. Okay. What are some personality notes that we can take away? Like, what's a quick 1 or 2 sentence bio about some core aspects of this character? Ah. Okay. We have some scars, a religious tattoo. Our signature item is a religious symbol. There we go. 1 quick sentence. We can always go back and expand upon it, especially if you're using a word processor. You're writing it down, I don't know, just draw a little arrow to someplace else. Let's line up the personal agenda. Now, in this game, I do not recommend telling each other what your personal agendas are as players. Let's do this. Career. Summary. Agenda. Because we're using this as a template for our other 3. The other players can try and figure it out, but you have a personal goal you're striving towards. Even though the defecation is hitting the ventilation in a game like Alien RPG, there is still something that you need to do. And let's make a line for our signature item and our talent or talents. Excellent. Now, if you have other details about the character, here in appearance, we don't have a lot of the information that the player might have applied to this character. We don't necessarily know this character's age. We don't have a company for which she or he works. In fact, we don't even have the character's sex. There are other details that you can list and that you can discuss, one-on-one with the not with the character, with the player who is going to be piloting this character. And those can be taken into consideration as well. But for right now, we have a pretty brief summary of one of our four characters. Let's now I'm going to pull this off to the side. You've seen how this is done. Let's go to the first of our 2 Colonial Marines here. So we have a Colonial Marine. And by the way, if this story was to take place in another setting, would they be a Colonial Marine? No, that's more of a United Americas military extension. But in general, the career would be soldier, a trained soldier in some way. But let's stick with Colonial Marine. Now, this one's concept is a retiree. Our talent is Overkill. And our signature item, Lost Friends Dog Tags. Our personal agenda, is you are a decorated hero. You need to defend your reputation at all costs. And we have a summary that was brought about by the character creation process. We let the numbers speak for themselves. We let the numbers and the concept be accented by all these other things. So we have an old soldier who was brought back into service reluctantly. Well, maybe not reluctantly. Who was brought back into service and suffers from trauma from it, but has much experience to share. All right. So far, so good. Nothing we're doing is super complex. This is all open up a notepad or a word processor, and it is here. We're coming over to our next, because we actually rolled for 2 Colonial Marines. This one is the Reluctant Hero. Let's erase our summary, our agenda, our talent, and I believe we actually share. Yep, we also rolled the same signature item. Now, it's probably not the same person, but, you know, in service like this, would that you were the only soldier to have lost a friend in service. Our talent is past the limit. Our agenda the death of your buddy has spooked you. Now you secretly fear combat and confrontation. You need to overcome your fear. Now, based on the numbers, the story that we came up with, the numbers plus the item, plus the talent, plus the agenda, was leading us into this kind of personality. We have a brash youth who is braggadocious. We're bringing out the big words here. Brash youth who is braggadocious, but secretly doesn't wish to be on the front lines, despite being the most capable of doing so. Right? Take a look. Close combat 3, ranged combat 3, 4 strength, 4 agility, can render medical aid, can stay in it for a while with that stamina. This person is a war machine. But he doesn't want to fight because he's seen what has happened. Now, even before we get to our final character, can you see what making simple lists like this can do? Do you understand now the nature of why this is ROLE playing focused as opposed to ROLL playing? And if not, don't worry. We still have some time to talk about it. And we still have some time to draw these connections. Let's come down here. Oops, I need the full. And remember, this actually gets easier if you have more details that your friends might provide, or they might, come to you and say, you know what, I wasn't sure. Is there a corporation I should work for? And you go, you know what? It just so happens there is. And maybe you rolled the random corporation in the book, because it is actually back here. If you are wondering, oh yeah, who for whom do we work? Well, in addition to creating planets and their geospheres and terrain, there's things like a colony allegiance, employers of different kinds here. So if you're not sure and you trust the story to write itself, which happens often in this workshop and the systems we teach, let the story write itself. Iwi, it writes itself. Let things happen as they will. This is going to help you connect even more dots than the more obvious math problems based on the numbers. So now I'm going to move this off to the side real quick. Our final character is a bit of a surprise, as none of the other players are going to realize we actually made a synthetic, a synth, an android, an artificial person. We have an officer, someone who is, the foreman is kind of, in this case, like, we have the roughneck, definitely can get down and dirty. That would be kind of like the sergeant in a military capacity, right? The highest ranking, non-commissioned, so you are there still on the front line. You are the one in the ditches, in the dirt, and you're that sort of liaison to the brass, and so you're caught between the gears. The foreman might be like that, where we have an officer who actually has rank and not just reputation. Because you will find that brass will listen to the sergeants because they're in the muck with the soldiers. And the sergeants can act as kind of a representative of the lower tier soldiers. So that would be like our foreman, right? Here we actually have someone who is in a position of authority, just by nature, of leadership. Our summary is going to be pretty easy, though. Secretly, a synth, and has been placed in the company. Which company? I don't know yet, but it's a placeholder. Has been placed in the company to soothe angry workers and enforce code compliance. Mistakes are deadly, so don't let anyone under your watch screw up. Make sure they understand why. Sorry, I forgot this was off. This was more off screen. We're secretly a synth and has been placed in the company to soothe angry workers and enforce code compliance. Our talent is Field Commander. This lets us command. This lets us command twice per round. We can issue orders to help people work together. Now, our signature item will not confer a stress benefit, a mechanic, because androids, gynoids, if you prefer, depending on which way it swings or doesn't. We have a letter of recommendation, and in this case, could you still have rolled it up? Sure, it's not going to relieve stress because you don't feel stress. You are calm and cool all the time because you don't feel feelings. But you also don't have that human gumption to push your dice rolls and go above and beyond. You perform as you were made. But in this case, we have a roleplay reason for this signature item. That is a letter of recommendation. The letter of recommendation is what is allowing us to be placed among the people, as an outsider, perhaps, as a new transfer, maybe even as an experiment, secretly, in order to study behavior. And this character, as we have conspired with the player, at some point in time, especially by only having 3 health, will probably end up revealing what's beneath the skin. And that can cause a lot of issues. Especially if there's other suspect activity among AI or other synthetic people. So now, by simply looking at this, in fact, I'm going to expand this, and then our layout is going to be not margins. I want to view this as side to side. Here we go. We're going to move this onto beautiful. Okay. Again, very simple summary. But even with this simple setup and the initial considerations, details will only bind them, will only bind them together in different ways more efficiently. Let's go off of scrappy, bare bones character creation. So this is actually hard mode. And if you can handle hard mode, you can handle other more detailed sheets that will be handed to you. So we have someone here who works at a company or a colony, right? We have a worker. We have our roughneck. And we're going to highlight this. We'll highlight it yellow. Why not? We also have someone who works at this company as an officer. Now, notice I did not highlight the flavor of roughneck or the flavor of officer, because this is something else that the other people can bond around. In fact, you know what? Earlier in the stream, Heretic Trance rolled up a story blurb that there is a military ship in orbit of the planet, and the away team, right? The team that was sent down to this colony or this mining rig or whatever is looking for someone or something. If you want to talk about it writes itself, an unprompted example from the back of the book has actually led itself to be a basis of a story for 4 randomly generated characters. We have 2 people who are connected from working at the company. We have 3 people. Whoops, I don't want yellow. We have 3 people who can connect. Actually, maybe, maybe this would actually be a... We can split this. And by the way, you can do this at home too. Let's highlight these blue. We highlighted them blue because this is something that can connect these characters. We have 3 leader-style characters based on their descriptions. A veteran who's been through things, and so he has some rank, if not the gumption to survive a lot of stuff. We have the foreman, who's the leader of the workers in the trenches, and then we have the officer, who is an employee of the company, but is also a leader in the company, which is why we split the colors. Now, something that's very easy, we have 2 Colonial Marines. Whether or not they are from the same branch or like company or squad or whatever, maybe not. But this is something that those characters can bond over. Yeah, the important people are survived. Now, by the way, if you don't want to split this one concept between 2 colors, you can also, let's change that back. Let's bond this character through the talent of Field Commander. Oh, now we're starting to find some connections between the disparate characters. Let's take a look at this person here, our retiree. You are a decorated hero. You need to defend your reputation at all costs. I'm just going to highlight this portion of the agenda. We'll turn that blue. Hopefully you all can see it. If there is a risk to take, you'll step up and try it. I can respace this. Maybe this can be bigger. We have space on our sheets. There we go. This can work. There we go. Yep. There, that should be bigger for you all to see. So now there's a way, there's actually now 2 ways that this roughneck from the company and this visiting Colonial Marine can find similarities, despite different goals or other things. We have someone, and if you need to defend your reputation, you don't think matches up with you're a compulsive thrill seeker, right? As this is, you need to prove yourself. Then maybe you bond that to Overkill. Or you bond all 3 of those. And you can even link that to a part of this other character, even though it's not a major part. Brash youth who is braggadocious. We have people out to prove things, even though this other Marine secretly doesn't want to. And in fact, that is a very good bonding, something that bonds. The roughneck is the leader, leads from the front, It's not that he doesn't want people to be safe, but he's not safety conscious, especially for himself. However, we have safety compliance as a part of the career for this character. And how can we find a bond? Let's color this pink. You now secretly fear combat and confrontation. And you know who can provide you excuses to not rush into combat? The leader officer of this group. Of course, both of our Marines here, if you want to just chalk that up to being a Colonial Marine, we can color this red as well. Or because we've lost people, this is a reason why we are acting the way that we are. And in fact, this isn't really something that the Roughneck has. Let's try and find a bond this way. I'm going to color that green. A Lost Friends dog tags. And a Lost Friends dog tags, which also bonds up here. Look at this part of the agenda on our fourth character, the synthetic officer. Mistakes are deadly, so don't let anyone under your watch screw up. Now, you can see where this is going. You can see a way, not even the way. This is simply one of different ways you can spread out the information that you can focus your attention or your ability to consume an idea and process it. You can now sit back and go, all right, I see the colors. I see the connections that are forming. It looks kind of intricate, but now that I have it color-coded, I get it. I can see a broader picture. There we go. Broader picture. And can you start imagining scenes in your head where the entire group is under pressure and these are bonding moments, or these are moments of stress? These are moments of actual conflict. Because you know who's going to rush into a dangerous situation? The Roughneck. And you know who that's going to anger? The compliance officer. That is going to also going to cause the reluctant hero Marine to worry. And do you want your frontliner, the person who's most capable of fighting, having hesitation and worry? The retiree might go, oh, here we go again, and go into overkill mode. Damn it, I've lost too many friends like this. It always, and then he or she pops out of cover and just unloads to provide cover. So that might compel the retiree, even though it's not really a bond between the Roughneck and the retiree, between the foreman and the retiree. It's not a bond, but it is a way that those two will act, while the other two, if the players are sticking to their characters, will find conflict and go, no, stop, or I order you, and you can raise the tension. Because when you're in a running firefight, the last thing that you need is your team falling apart and arguing. But as a storyteller, as the game mother, that's a beautiful spicy meatball rolling down the hall chasing after him. And now that you've taken a moment to just sketch out possible relationships, and even on a one-on-one basis, you return to the players and you say, all right, withholding details that shouldn't be brought up with the others. This is where I found a couple bonds. You can bring this up in session 0 if you want. And these are the things that I've taken into consideration for the story. I hope you can play it, like you see where I'm coming from and can play into it. If you think I missed something, let me know. Or if you think that there's, you know, I missed a connection, but you actually, there's a way for you to enhance it further. Because maybe the player, after hearing this, will say, yeah, you know what? Me and the other person, we actually got together and we talked about our characters after finding out we're both playing Colonial Marines. And we want to be kind of buddies. We want to play, you know, like mentor-mentee. We want to play, you know, that we're kind of like partners who both lost squad members. And this is kind of a coping mechanism that we found ourselves in. And so those two might have an entire rapport and things set up that you don't even have to worry about. Though I'm sure they'll appreciate the effort you put into sketching out their concepts and finding those connections. Yep, yeah, like in Lethal Weapon, I'm too old for this stuff. And what this can do, we're gonna take this one. We're gonna take this one page further. If you're looking for inspiration, write out what you're seeking. Mentor mental. If you need a supporting cast for the story you want to build, NPC, and you could do this by character. Like you could put foreman, retiree, reluctant, and officer, just like you were doing up here. Right? That way your notes are consistent. You can make a list of the names and go, oh, you know what? It doesn't even have to be in order. Go with what comes to mind first. Absolutely. Lost Battle Brother. Now, in the retiree, we're going to say a Battle Brother. That is indicating a lot closer relationship. And up here, we're going to say Lost Squad Member. While they are no longer alive, these are still NPCs that can be brought up through narration, through flashbacks, through a lot of different things. Both of these characters, if I can spell, might actually just say company boss, because this is an NPC that both of them actually have to deal with. The company boss, whether it's good or bad. Let's go back to our ROLE playing. Well, our Roughneck, as an inspiration, as an NPC, might have either the religious figure or an influential, preacher, pastor, priest, shaman, whatever, right? A spiritual leader. That could even be on planet. Could be the one who on a weekly basis is keeping the faith among people out here on the frontier colony where life is tough and you got to do something to find greater meaning, because the more that you might explore space and find out how vast and wide it is, you might feel very small. So it's good to have that moral uplift of, even though there are billions of stars, there is only one of you, and that means something. You are the only one of your kind in this universe, or whatever the example is. So we might have a spiritual leader, and again, throw it out there. Stream of consciousness. You can go back and put spiritual leader in parentheses dead, or will die. Remember, these are your notes. Or will die. But now you have an NP. If you actually want to cause something to happen, this is a cast of characters that you can use, you can invoke to apply pressure or compel something to happen, right? Now, NPC for our synthetic officer could also be our secret controller. Because, you know what? Interestingly enough, who out there in chat, all right, there's 54 of you. Is there a character from a role-playing game that was a synthetic corporate officer, especially in charge of safety? Is there a character that comes to mind? And may or may not have, wavering morality. Well, yes, I'm sorry. Another RPG, a non-alien. Ready. Now, by the way, Beg, Borrow, and Steal from All Alien comic. The book itself is compelling you to go and play the video games and see the movies and to actually draw examples and inspiration. So you're not wrong, Reddy. I'm playing into it. Have any of you played Final Fantasy VII? Maybe one or two of you, of the 52 watching, have any of you out there played Final Fantasy VII? Yeah, never heard of it, says Rip Artist. There's 7 of them now? It ain't so final, is it? Yeah, once upon a time when it was new. Right, memories, satirical. Satirical like me is like in PJs on a Saturday morning. Probably got FF7 with the PlayStation, like that's why you got the system. All right. There's a secret controller of this bot. And the character that might remind you all is this one. This iteration of Cait Sith from Final Fantasy VII. Who was controlled remotely by a company man who was a safety officer and did have a sense of morality, but things also happen. The book I was thinking of like 3 Hero Zones ago, by the way, was When True Night Falls, where what you imagine or dream can come true from mass popular thought. Not only that, got the demo for FF7 with another game, so you could try it before it actually came out. Yeah, when you get those demo CDs wrapped up with video game magazines. So this could be inspiration. Remember, Beg, Borrow, and Steal if you want. That there's an NPC that's actually a secret controller. Not even that the synth. Now, by the way, talk to the player about this. But not even that the synth was given an artificial intelligence and go, do your programming. There is more of an active, a hand, maybe a somewhat invisible hand, pressing this character forward, or will cause a betrayal. So anyway, can we find a lot of NPC inspirations? Absolutely. Keep looking, keep digging. Do it one at a time. One more thing. Always have that attitude. Always have Uncle's attitude. One more thing. Because you can always find that one more thing. Can we do a quick scan of what we know about these characters, and as storytellers, find inspiration for locales? Well, all of them are going to be on a planet of some kind, right? That's an obvious one. You can still list it. I mean, some people want it on every list, and that's how they process it. Or you just write, locale inspirations besides planet. Or whatever, Well, our foreman, as a leader, might actually have his own private bunk. Or like a private room in the, in the dormitories for the workers, right? A leadership position. As well, he or she has a secret stash of alcohol for celebrating or other uses. So why don't we put that down? Private room. And Ready to Nap was never heard from again. The end. Thank you for lurking, Ready. Grogrin says, or drive-through lady from Dude, Where's My Car? Yeah, and then also Necromancer remotely piloting a skeleton. Yeah, it's medicinal. So we might have a private room. These two, yes, the planet will be where they go, but there's also marine ship, the one that's in orbit. Yeah, if it doesn't take place on a planet, it might be taking place on an asteroid, in a space hulk, a broken down ship or something. Yep, you got it, Iron Chef. Maybe our synthetic, who can go places where others can't, actually has a locale inspiration of some a chamber underneath the camp that was discovered, but because of a high amount of radiation or something, only that officer can go. And so the officer was sent because the company needs to know what's in there, and it's taking time. It's sort of like the Andy Dufresne method, right? You send someone there, chips away a little bit at a time, and is very unassuming otherwise. Who built this chamber? Why is it made out of irradiated material or whatever? And so maybe this is part of things. One of the locale inspirations is in a radiated alien room of worship. Wait a minute, a room of worship? Uh-oh. Well, a locale for sure for our foreman is the local chapel for his or her religion. Join her misfits, you gotta stick together. Well, then there you go, Iron Chef. You're gonna get an ooh-woo from her. Do you see how this can just put something out there, get it out there, write down stuff? And do you see the creative juices flowing, the process? You can lean into the connections that existed before. You can go, wait a minute, stamina, I could probably try and fatigue them with some low dose radiation, but that's the pressure that they can survive because they all have stamina. Brilliant, and you didn't have to bust your brain to do it. Conflict inspirations. This could be internal. Conflict of faith. Conflict with the officer. This is it. So this would be like a PvP. Right? The reluctant hero needs to overcome fear. This conflict is fear of dying combat, or in combat. These can all be emotional, or they can be the conflict inspiration is the secret parasite within him. That could be a conflict too. Conflict inspirations. Here's a classic. Free will versus destiny. And if you go, whoa, this seems kind of deep for Alien, you might have been missing out on a lot of symbolism in Alien and a lot of the personal conflict the characters have. Because it's there. They're not just scary movies. There are elements of philosophy, of character development and growth. And you can just start turning over rocks and seeing what's there. You've always seen the rocks. Oh, they're nice, but they're rocks. But have you ever looked at what's underneath them? Could be gold. Could be a bug. Oh, gross. Or, oh, cool. Could be another rock. Could be dirt. But maybe you have a plant at home that needs some fresh dirt. And so you scoop it up. And you're like, oh, this will come in handy. Who knows? You didn't until you overturn that rock, until you do the simple exercises. And these lists can be expanded upon as the story continues to grow too. Just because you wrote it down doesn't mean it's forever. There you go. Awkward Mancer is asking the hard questions. The public demands to know. Do you all like? I hope then through this method and through this encouragement, does this make sense? Is this showing you like you don't need a special program? This is a word processor. Does the methodology make sense? Did you feel that this was enlightening or reaffirming? Did this challenge you and go, I never thought of that before? But it seems to be a pretty easy thing to do that yields pretty good results, especially for the effort put in. Can it always be better? Absolutely. Can you have a fancy program? And look, I'm not knocking writing programs. In fact, I'm not going to shill for a specific one. There are several writing programs to help authors, as those are programs that specifically have tools to connect characters and to make lists of notes, and you can link them, so you just click between it within this program. They're powerful tools. They can be detailed. And however expensive or not they are, they're there. And if that's how your brain works, or that's how you need to stay organized, I'm not judging you. Would someone look at a carpenter and go, oh, look at this person using a hammer to pound in nails instead of the palm of his fist? Disgusting. Why did I hire such an amateur? Using tools to get the job done. Wow. 2 out of 10. I will never recommend this carpenter again. Using a hammer. What is this garbage? So use the tools that are available, but also realize that you don't always need a fancy tool. If you think it's intimidating to use a writer's assistant tool, a campaign planning tool, or whatever, because there's stuff like that out there, just crack open a notebook or a word processor. You don't want to pay for Word? Cool. Use OpenOffice for free. And just get the words out. Start typing. See where this takes you. Look at what happened. Look at all of this. Examination. Look at all of we looked at the stats. We looked at so that's the ROLL. We looked at the ROLE playing. We're coming up with all of this stuff for our story that we're going to write tomorrow night. And what did we do? We sat down for a couple hours. A lot of that was just fun and some BS back and forth at our table as friends. And this was built on 4 character sheets that other people took the time to make. That's it. Look at this. What kind of a story can we come up with that draws together a couple numbers and a couple sentences? But we know the buttons to push to make it hard. We know the buttons to push to bring the characters together, to find common threads between them for solidarity and camaraderie. And we know the pry bars to try and destroy those relationships and see if they last. Beyond, the ends of, projectiles embedded in you or claws ripping you apart. I promise. Do this with D&D. Take your character sheets and sit down and do the same thing with different numbers and letters. Do this with Pathfinder. Do this with Mutants and Masterminds and Vampire. Vampire the Masquerade actually encourages actively to make a character web. Not quite like what we did, but it is encouraging that kind of connectivity. So especially in Vampire the Masquerade, make those relationship webs. You will find this is a great universal approach to at least get you started, to plant those seeds of creativity without busting your back in the garden, trying to get that in the fertile soil of your imagination. So I do truly hope this helped. Now, I'm not seeing chat blow up like, wow, cool. That's fine. My ego can take it. I just imagine there's 54 of you out there going, yeah, that's neat. You might be driving, by the way. I'm not calling anyone out. Don't pull over to the side of the road if you're driving or whatever. It might be just I'm on your second monitor and you're playing Final Fantasy 14, or I don't know, you got work to do. You got a paper to write or something. Yeah, thank you. There we go. Awkward Mancer coming in with the support. Wow, cool. Yes, I did it. I'm a streamer on Twitch. I engaged chat, and I had a I had a response. Not me sitting here backing up the computer with you in the background. Yeah, no, it's fine. I can type while driving. Cool stuff. Don't type while driving, everyone. I told you not to. I'm not fishing for compliments. I believe me, if however many of you, 1,000 of you could watch. By the way, that'd be neat. 0 of you could watch. I've streamed to 0 people before. You always got to stream like you are streaming to 1,000. I am not fishing for compliments. It's me indicating the lesson is done. Wake up from your naps in class. It's cool. Because you know what? At the end of the night, we still spent time together. I'm glad you listened to my voice. Nothing exciting was happening on the screen. I had a word processor and a PDF open. There's no guilt. There's no hard feelings. But I do truly hope that you find value in what happens in this place with conversations like these, with shared experiences and ideas that you can put out to a group of people who are almost as equally unfamiliar as you are. I haven't been playing Alien RPG for years and years since it first came out. I've run it before, and I'm going to run it again here soon with a cast that includes Awkwardmancer. But these are just good, solid concepts, because I want to encourage you to play this game and other games. Maybe even, in my heart of hearts, dare I imagine that maybe one of you out there is inspired to the point where you want to step up and you are the one to run the games, whether to relieve your current DM, GM, or ST, or you say, you know what, I've never played an RPG before, but I get this. I get how I can do it. And you step up and you want to learn to swim, you got to jump in the water, and you chose the deep end. But it's fine, because there's a lot of floaties with this book. Or you go, yeah, you know what? Our group has always played, I don't know, your group has always played Rifts. And maybe we should take a break and try something new, and I'm going to try running this game. So in my heart of hearts, I do hope that I can help create more people who want to step up and run games for others. I'm not committing you to a life of being a forever GM. But even if it's just buying a module, buying a cinematic adventure in Alien RPG terms, and running it for a couple nights with your friends, that is awesome. And thank you for doing that. Not just in an economic sense, because hopefully you bought it from your friendly local game store. Or if you don't have one, I know a guy. But because you're doing something for other people, including yourself. You can get a lot of pleasure from running the games. But for those people sitting at your table, virtual or otherwise, it means the world that you took the time and effort to arrange this game and to present something fun or compelling. It might end in absolute tragedy, and you didn't want it to happen, but you know what? It did. But you can laugh about it, roll up new characters, and go back at it. Or try something else. Or give it a break, or say, nah, not like this. We all agree. We're going to take that back. And you just start over, right? Press start to continue. Because it's your game at your table. And it's your story with your players. And you are their facilitator. Breaking out the big names? Well, there's a lot of letters in your name, Awkwardmancer, so yeah. Yeah, Rep Artist lifts his head off the table from the puddle of drool. So, there you go, everyone. See? That didn't hurt. I hope it wasn't boring. Like, oh, this is gonna be some English composition class. I'm done with that. I took that in high school or college or whatever. Boring snooze fest. Well, look, we got bright light. We got bright colors. Look at the smooth animation on these page flips. This has got to be at least like what, 60 FPS? Look at our RPG we're playing at 60 FPS. Look at the sheer amount of colors. There are over 3, not even including black and white. This is the service I offer you all.